My name is Chelsea, and for a long time, I lived under the shadow of an elaborate lie. I was the mind, the silent engine behind inventions the world applauded, but the face in the spotlight was never mine. This story isn't about literal revenge, but about the painful rediscovery of my voice, and my worth, in a world that tried to silence me. I've always been a girl of numbers and patterns. While my friends got lost in fiction books, I delved into equations and algorithms. The complexity of artificial intelligence and biotechnology fascinated me. In college, I was the one who pulled all-nighters in the lab, with the smell of reagents and the hum of computers as my soundtrack. That's where I met Marcus. He was older, charismatic, and had a smile that seemed to light up any room he entered. Marcus was the kind of person who could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I, with my head full of ideas and a heart full of naivety, was his first big sale. He was my colleague in biotechnology graduate school, and soon became my mentor. At least, that's how I saw him. Marcus had a vision for business, and I had the ability to make those visions a reality through science. Our first collaborations were on smaller projects. I would develop the core of the research, the algorithm that optimized cellular reactions, or the formula that decoded genetic sequences. He would handle the presentation, the packaging. At first, I saw no problem with it. I was shy, I didn't like public speaking. Marcus, on the other hand, seemed born for the stage. I remember a biotechnology conference in San Francisco during my second year of grad school. I had spent months developing a new DNA sequencing method that reduced costs by 30%. It was revolutionary. We presented a joint poster, but it was Marcus who dominated the conversations. He gestured, explained eloquently, while I stood there, beside him, answering specific technical questions that he deflected to me with a "Chelsea can give you more details on that." One of my undergraduate professors, Professor London, walked past us. He had always been one of my biggest supporters. His eyes, usually so kind, had a glint of concern as he saw me there, in the background. "Chelsea," he called me aside, his voice low. "Your work is exceptional. Don't let anyone diminish it. You need to assert yourself." I smiled, but his advice bothered me. At the time, I ignored it. I trusted Marcus. He was my friend, my colleague. He promised that when our biotech startup took off, the recognition would be mutual. That we would share the profits and the glory. That we would be an unbeatable team. Innocence was a luxury I could no longer afford. After graduate school, we founded BioSync Innovations. The name was his, but the innovations were all mine. Our first major mission was to develop an early diagnostic platform for genetic diseases, something that could change the lives of millions of people. I lived and breathed that project. My days were filled with lines of code, laboratory experiments, and the incessant pursuit of precision. Nights and early mornings, often eating cold pizza in front of the computer, were the norm. I developed a predictive algorithm that was the crown jewel of the system, capable of analyzing genetic data with unprecedented speed and accuracy. It was the soul of our product, the ignored formula. Marcus, meanwhile, handled the business side. He traveled, networked, and presented our progress to potential investors. Every time he returned from a meeting, he brought exciting news. They loved it, Chelsea. They were impressed with the potential of our algorithm. "Soon we'll be millionaires." He would say "our algorithm," but I noticed that in documents and presentations, the authorship always leaned towards him. I was the lead developer, he, the visionary. I swallowed hard, believing that one day, the truth would be self-evident. That success would speak for itself. How wrong I was. BioSync's funding took off quickly. We closed a $10 million investment round in just 6 months, largely driven by Marcus's spectacular presentations, where he masterfully demonstrated my algorithm. I saw the investors' eyes light up. That technology, which I had created with sweat and endless cups of coffee, was about to change the game. Camila, a lab colleague who had become a great friend, was the only one who seemed to notice the discrepancy. She was a talented developer too, but not at Marcus's level or mine, and she was a keen observer. "Chelsea," she said to me one day, as we ate sandwiches in our tiny office kitchen in Boston. "Don't you think it's strange that Marcus never mentions your name when he talks about the algorithm to investors? He always says, 'my team,' or 'our AI.'" I shrugged. "He has to sell the idea, Camila. He's the CEO. It's normal for him to take the lead in front of investors." Camila sighed. "Normal maybe for the show. But you're the brains behind all of this, Chelsea. And he knows it. Just be careful, the corporate world can be an ocean full of sharks." Camila's advice echoed Professor London's, but I still resisted seeing the malice. I was so focused on seeing the project come to fruition, on seeing my algorithm help people, that the issue of credit seemed secondary. My true recognition would come from the effectiveness of my creation. I was naive, yes, but also deeply passionate about what I did. Months turned into a year and a half of intense work. BioSync was ready to launch its diagnostic platform at a global event, the TechMed Summit, in New York. It was the culmination of everything we had built. The company had rented one of the largest halls in a luxurious hotel in the heart of Manhattan. The buzz was palpable. Journalists from the Wall Street Journal and Wired were there. Investors, CEOs of other tech companies. And, most importantly for us, Dr. Ethan Chin, one of the biggest names in AI research and medicine, would be the keynote speaker and introduce our presentation. On the day of the summit, the air in New York was cold and biting, a prelude to the chill I would feel. I arrived early at the hotel, with a mix of nervousness and pride. The convention hall was immaculate, with giant screens displaying the BioSync logo. Marcus was radiant, greeting everyone, with his contagious energy. "Chelsea, darling," he hugged me quickly. "You look beautiful. Are you ready to see our baby shine?" I smiled, nodding. "More than ready, Marcus. It's the big day." "Right. Look, I'm going to do the main presentation, okay? You sit in the front row, and if there's a very technical question, I'll call on you to answer. That way, we'll speed things up. You know how good I am on stage, and we can't waste time." My heart gave a little jump. I had prepared a detailed presentation on the technical aspects of the algorithm. I had slides with complex diagrams, case studies, everything ready to show the depth of my research. But he was right, he was the CEO, the face of the company. And I wasn't good at speaking to large audiences. "Of course, Marcus. Whatever you prefer," I replied, feeling a bitter taste in my mouth. I put away my own slides on my laptop, which I wouldn't even use. The room quickly filled. I sat in the front row, with Camila beside me. Dr. Ethan Chin took the stage, an imposing and respected man with a discerning gaze. He gave an elegant introduction about the potential of AI in healthcare and then announced Marcus. Marcus walked to the podium with the confidence of a lion in his territory. He began to speak, his voice powerful and full of conviction. He described the challenges of early detection of genetic diseases, the need for innovation. And then, he revealed his product. He projected my slides, the ones I had prepared for him, without the technical details, of course, but with graphs and visual demonstrations of my algorithm. With each slide, he spoke with a fervor that sent shivers down my spine. My revolutionary algorithm, my data architecture, my vision for the future of medicine. He used my words, my concepts. He explained the inner workings of my algorithm with a precision that only I, or he, who had seen it born, could have. But it was his. My hands were sweaty, and I nervously rubbed them on the skirt of my dress. Camilla shot me a worried look, as if reading my thoughts. Marcus was at his peak, dominating the audience with every word. He spoke about the $500 million our system could generate in revenue in the next 5 years, about the lives he would save. The statistics he cited were mine, the projections were mine, but the ownership was his. The hour-long presentation flew by. Marcus ended with a dramatic flourish, receiving a standing ovation. He smiled, bowed, soaking up every applause as if it were oxygen. The Q&A session began. A journalist from the New York Times raised his hand. "Mr. Marcus," he asked, "the complexity of this algorithm is truly remarkable. Could you tell us a bit about the genesis of this idea? How did the inspiration to create something so advanced come about?" Marcus took the microphone, and his smile widened. He looked directly at the audience, but his eyes avoided mine. That's an excellent question," he began, his voice full of a tone I would recognize anywhere, the tone of someone about to tell an invented story. The inspiration, well, it was something that occurred to me during a long night of insomnia. I was thinking about the challenges of modern medicine, and suddenly, all the pieces fell into place. The idea of combining machine learning with biology in such an interconnected way, it was a flash of genius, if I may say so. A flash of genius. My flash of genius. My breath caught in my throat. I felt my face flush, then turn cold. A knot formed in my stomach. That wasn't just an omission, it was a blatant lie. He was no longer minimizing my contribution, he was erasing it completely. I felt invisible, as if I didn't exist, despite being there, in the front row, witnessing the theft of my own mind. "And the team that worked on this?" another reporter asked. "Was there any specific scientist who was fundamental to the development?" Marcus shook his head with a paternalistic smile. "Oh, yes, of course. My team is brilliant, talented. They executed my vision masterfully. But the original conception, the architecture of the algorithm, the heart of everything, well, that came from here," he said, lightly tapping his chest with his hand. "It was my life's project." At that moment, something broke inside me. Not a noisy break, but a silent, definitive crack, like a bridge giving way after years of erosion. The promises, the trust, the years of hard work, all collapsed in seconds. The naivety I had held onto for so long finally vanished, leaving behind a sharp emptiness. I wasn't just a secondary developer, I was an inconvenient secret, a ghost they wished would disappear. My eyes filled with tears, but I refused to cry there, in front of everyone. I wouldn't give Marcus the satisfaction of seeing me break down. I slowly stood up, my legs trembling, but with a cold determination settling in my chest. Without looking at Marcus, without making eye contact with anyone, I simply turned and began to walk towards the exit of the hall. Camilla, who was sitting next to me, quickly stood up. "Chelsea, wait," she whispered, but I kept walking. I needed to get out of there, out of that heavy, suffocating air. The sound of applause and voices of admiration for Marcus seemed to follow me, mocking my pain. Every step I took was a silent rejection, an echo of all the times my ideas were minimized, my hours of work ignored. Outside, the New York cold seemed to penetrate my bones. I stopped for a moment, taking a deep breath of the frigid air, trying to control the trembling in my hands. My phone vibrated. It was a text message from Marcus. "Where did you go? The presentation was a success. Call me." I looked at the message, a bitter laugh escaped my lips. Success for him, yes. For me, ruin. I immediately blocked his number. I didn't go home. I went to Camilla's house, unannounced. She found me curled up on the couch, my gaze lost. She didn't ask questions, just hugged me tight, and for the first time that day, the tears came, hot and uncontrollable. I cried for hours, for the betrayal, for the humiliation, and for the innocence I had lost forever. That night, after venting to Camila about every detail of Marcus's betrayal, I felt exhausted, but a little lighter. Camila, always practical and supportive, was the first to give me a push. "Chelsea, you can't leave it like this. Your genius cannot be stolen." She convinced me to seek out Professor London. He was the only one who truly knew my work from the beginning. The next day, with swollen eyes but newfound determination, I called Professor London. He answered with his usual gentle voice. "Chelsea, I saw the broadcast. I'm so sorry. I knew this could happen." His words were a balm. He didn't doubt me, he believed. "Professor, I don't know what to do. He stole my work, my soul. Chelsea, you have two options. You can lament, or you can fight. I believe in the latter. And I will help you." With Professor London's support, I began to gather all the documentation I had, old emails, time-stamped code, drafts of algorithms I had developed before Marcus even thought of biosync. The professor advised me on how to protect my copyrights and patents in the future. He warned me that fighting in court would be long and costly, but that the most important thing now was my reputation and my ability to start over. I decided I didn't want to fight an exhaustive legal battle against Marcus. I wanted something more powerful. I wanted to prove, not to him, but to myself, that my worth did not depend on others' recognition. I wanted to build something of my own, from scratch, where every line of code, every idea, would be undeniably mine. I used my savings, which weren't much, and the small bonus I received from biosync. Marcus still tried to buy my silence with a generous $50,000 bonus, which I accepted, ironically, to fund my escape. I set up a small lab/office in my own apartment in New York. It was cramped, but it was mine. Professor London connected me with some trusted former students who could help me with freelance projects while I developed my new idea. I was obsessed. Sleepless nights, cold pizza, but this time, with every line of code, I felt the freedom of building something for myself. My new project was an even more complex and innovative algorithm, focused on optimizing smart energy grids, a completely different area from biotechnology, where Marcus couldn't sabotage me. Months passed, and my new algorithm was almost ready. I was looking for an angel investor who believed in my vision. I presented my project to several people, and many praised me but hesitated to invest in a one-woman startup. Until one day, one of my demonstration prototypes, sent to a small tech event, caught the attention of a big name, Mr. Hiroshi, a legendary Silicon Valley angel investor, known for his vision and for betting on disruptive talents. He called me personally. "Miss Chelsea," his voice was calm and direct. "I was impressed with your work. I saw your algorithm prototype. It's something I've never seen before. You have a brilliant mind." The meeting with Mr. Hiroshi in his Palo Alto office was surreal. He listened attentively, asked insightful questions, and at the end, looked at me and said, "I'm willing to invest $2 million in your company. I want you to build the future." I almost cried with relief and gratitude. It was the first time someone, besides Professor London and Camila, saw my potential and was willing to invest in it without questioning my authorship or my ability. My startup, Synthetica Solutions, grew rapidly. I hired a team of talented developers, all with unquestionable ethics, and made sure that everyone had their credit recognized in every project. I wouldn't repeat Marcus's mistakes. Our product soon began to dominate the energy optimization market, surpassing the competition. Meanwhile, Marcus's biosync began to languish. Without the source of innovation I represented, the company stagnated. His latest attempts to launch new products were pale imitations, devoid of the genius that once propelled biosync. News of falling stock prices and mass layoffs became constant, and Marcus's name, once synonymous with success, became associated with failure and empty promises. One day, at a high-level tech conference in San Francisco, an event that Synthetica Solutions sponsored as one of the leading companies, I was on the main stage, receiving an award for disruptive innovation in smart energy. The audience was packed, with the biggest names in the industry. My parents, Professor London, and Camila were in the front row, smiling proudly. As I descended from the stage, enveloped by camera flashes and congratulations, my eyes met a familiar pair of eyes, hidden in the crowd. It was Marcus. He was there, aged, his charismatic smile replaced by an expression of bitterness and regret. He was no longer at the top, but on the sidelines, a mere observer of my triumph. There was no anger in me, just a bittersweet sense of justice. Our gazes met. He hesitated for a moment, as if to approach, but then looked away, his once arrogant posture now shrunken. He knew. He knew what he had done, and he saw what he had lost. I didn't need to say a word. My presence there, my success, my company, everything spoke for itself. My revenge wasn't active, it wasn't a planned action to bring him down. It was the natural consequence of my success, built with integrity and passion. I didn't need to shout, or humiliate. I just needed to flourish. Today, I am the CEO of Synthetica Solutions, a company valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. My name is in articles, at conferences, in patents. My innovations are celebrated. And most importantly, I know that every success is the fruit of my own effort, of my own mind. The ignored formula, once stolen, is now the foundation of an empire I built, line by line of code, brick by brick. Not to prove anything to Marcus, but to prove to myself that my worth is unshakable. Thank you for following Chelsea's story. If you've ever felt your work or ideas were stolen or minimized, remember, your potential cannot be erased. Keep creating, keep building. True victory is the freedom to be yourself. If you're inspired by Chelsea's journey, please like and share to support us in bringing more stories of overcoming challenges, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new releases. See you in the next video.